It looks like we are live streaming into the internets, vast internets out there through the world and cyberspace and stuff like that. And I'm here with my friends, the Shower Door Pros. That's right, you know them. They're here. They're here on a weekly basis, giving out the wisdom, the knowledge, the shower door secrets that they should probably just be keeping to themselves. But no, they're willing to share them with you, the peoples out there who are wanting to know what are the secrets of shower doors. Bill Dobman is back. He wasn't here last week. He was on a super secret assignment that I don't even know if I can tell you about. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but maybe he'll tell us a little bit about what he was doing last week. And Mike is back with us. He was gone last week, you know? So, man, we are in for a treat, I think. So anyway, I'm not going to hog the mic. I want to hear from you guys. What's going on out there?
Last week, I was at my grandson's birthday party. That was last Wednesday. After that, it was a whirlwind. I don't know if I should even bog it. I'm still pinching myself, so can't even believe it happened to a glass guy. We were commissioned to manufacture a piece of glass, which at the time I didn't know what it was for or who it was for. But it was to take a piece of glass, carve it out in our water jet, and I was told that I would be asked to present it. I said, all right, we do a lot of charity work. 3 weeks ago, we had done a big charity function in Naples for the Navy SEALs. A lot of the retired vets. There's a real problem with veterans with committing suicide and PTSD. And we had a major fundraiser in Naples. And I was part of that. And we made these giveaways, pieces of glass. They were ornaments like the size of my logo. And it had the Navy SEAL trident in it, which is their logo. And they were so blown away, they asked me to do more of them. And then a really big one, which we did. And then he said, I'm going to want you to present this. And I said, okay, who's it going to? He says, well, number 45. And I looked at him and I says, what do you mean? He says, yeah, Donald Trump. He's giving out his golf club. He donated the use of Trump International in Palm Beach for the SEALs tournament to raise money and put on the whole banquet hall and everything that night. And what we were to do is make this presentation to him. So Donna and I got to go there. We presented it to him. And this is where the story gets crazy. That the glass then gets auctioned off that evening, and they made $20,000 for it. It was signed by all the SEALs, and then Trump and the rest of the Trump family signed it. So one individual bought it for $20,000. But after I made the presentation to Mr. Trump, who, by the way, says, I know your company and you have the best shower doors, which I'm just like blown away. I said, how does he know that? He said, well, you did all my doors in Durrell 5 years ago. And I'm going, this guy remembers that? I wouldn't even think that it crossed his desk. I figured somebody in purchasing knew about it. He said, oh yeah, did a great job. So
I can just hear him saying it too, you know.
I got it on video.
Shower doors. They were huge.
Chris, I got it on video. It's unbelievable. So the guy that asked me to commission it was scheduled to play golf with him Sunday morning with 2 other guys. And right after I presented it to him, he reached behind me and talked to Mr. Trump. And he says, you know, the 4th that's supposed to play with us, he just called, he might not be able to make it. So Trump looked at Mike and he says, well, is your buddy, does he play? And I said, yes, sir. He said, get your clubs, we'll play Sunday. I said, what? So I drive back from Palm Beach, back to Fort Myers, get my clubs. Donna picks up the grandkids to bring them back. We had to get another hotel room. I got my butt at the golf course 7:30 Sunday morning. And he had me eat breakfast with him, go out on the course, the range. Then the fourth ended up showing up, so I didn't get to play, but I went around with him for the whole 18 holes. And he said, come on back in, and we went to have lunch. It was 6.5 hours with him on Sunday. It just blew my mind. Blew my mind.
So you were basically the caddy, right?
Yeah. I'm just riding along for, I don't know, journalists, I guess. Yeah, I mean, they allowed me to take pictures and videos and selfies and everything. I just couldn't get close enough to video where anytime he was talking, the Secret Service asked me not to pick up any audio because you never know what's going on. But he was just unbelievable, unbelievably nice, as was the rest of the family. The night of the auction, we met Eric and Donald and Laura Trump. It was incredible. We raised like $250,000 for the SEALs. I got to meet about 50 SEALs that were there. They all came over for this. It was amazing. Still pinching myself, really.
Yeah.
I mean, how does a little glass guy get involved with something like that? And just being in the right spot, the right time, and doing something good. And
that's it. I think, just being generous, and being willing to, to do a little, giving back and create some good mojo for you in there.
That's exactly what happened. I mean, I had no idea that was happening until after he told me what to carve on the glass and all. And I said, well, that's kind of interesting. It says, thank you to the Trump family for all you do. I said, why am I writing that? He says, oh yeah, that's who you're presenting it to. And I said, oh my gosh, that was pretty strong.
Yeah. Wow.
That's pretty cool.
So needless to say, I was tied up for the weekend. It was the fastest weekend of my life. It was pretty cool.
Sounds like an awesome time, man.
It was. It really was. It really was.
Those guys know how to party, huh?
Yeah, he's just down to earth guy. Just a down to earth guy. I don't know how many guys golf, but it would be like just going to your local club, and he's got this one table he sits at all the time at his club. All the members know him. They joke around like not like he was the president, just like he was a good friend. Constantly coming up.
Is he as good of a golfer as he thinks he is?
Yeah, he's above average. I'll say that. May not have putted the best, but in that match that they were playing, he had a partner. So, like if the other guy got a par and he got a bogey, he could just pick up. But I would say if you ran his score, he probably was high 70s, low 80s.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Hit a good drive down the middle all the time. Par threes, he was on the green with his tee shots most of the time. Yeah, he's above average. He knocks it around. I didn't realize he was his club champion 3 different years. You got to be pretty good to be club champion. I'm not talking 4th division. I mean, this is championship division. And the guy's what, 74 now.
Yeah, I think so.
So anyhow, I'm just hoping that he buys more shower doors somewhere. Maybe there's another project. Hey, if you feel that strongly about it.
Yeah, fill one of those high rises up with them, right?
Yeah. And if it's not in my city, I got a group of shower door professionals might be able to handle it. Tell me what city you're dealing with.
That's right. Exactly. Spread the wealth around, right?
That's it. Move it around.
Right. Right on. That's awesome. Hey, thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah.
That's like notable,
If it wasn't for cell phones and cameras, I don't think anybody would believe the story. It's almost too out there to say, yeah, you're on something, Dobbin. You're crazy.
Yeah.
I had to try and sneak a picture because they had Secret Service everywhere, just kind of sneak a picture to prove that I was at his table 5 feet away from him eating breakfast and lunch. Like mind blowing.
I don't know if anyone's got a story that can top that. We can just wrap this up now.
No kidding. There's got to be something out there. Somebody mismitered some glass or something we got to talk about.
I guarantee you nothing like that's happening here. So
No. Well,
we just got rid of the snow.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
put you in the right mood for hockey playoffs.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know if you
right.
guys follow hockey, but Tampa Bay's on a roll again. They're doing good.
Somebody's got to follow hockey out there.
No
I don't
hockey,
follow it, no.
no hockey aficionados, huh?
Not unless I guess the home team is in.
Yeah, there you go.
Once
My
the
home
Pens
team
got
never
knocked
makes
out,
the
it was over.
playoffs.
What's your home team?
Penguins.
Me?
Yeah, Robert, what's your home team?
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg, yeah, they're out.
Winnipeg Jets. Yeah, they don't make the playoffs hardly ever. So
Yeah, I was thinking if anybody was a hockey fan, it would be you,
That's what I would have thought too.
right?
yeah, no, I play baseball. That's my thing, and actually rock climbing is my passion right now. But never really got into hockey. Big into the rock climbing business.
Oh, that's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah,
Nice.
Love doing that.
you just go hang around, huh?
That's a good time. That's a good
Yeah, as
time
much
for sure.
Yeah, as I love it almost as much as I do shower doors.
Wow. Who knew?
Right?
Yeah, it definitely is not something for guys our age anyway. But
Right.
it
Not the
definitely
time
keeps
to
you in
be
shape.
starting, right?
Well, I started pretty late actually. I didn't start until I was 49.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So I went with my kids and we started going, and they've since stopped, but I still go. And there's not a lot of guys my age that do it, but it's a lot of fun.
What are your gas prices in Canada right now?
Winnipeg right now is at 187.9, so that's per liter. So I think that might translate to, I think it's over $6 a gallon. Like, I think we actually pay more than you do.
Wow.
Wow.
And in BC, it's $2.33 a liter.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Gas here is crazy. I'm actually starting to think that if I should be charging a gas tax on top of what I normally charge, just until this starts to go down, if it goes down.
How about
Mhm.
I was
diesel?
wondering if you guys are doing that, if you guys are charging a fuel surcharge, or if you're burying it in your overall price of your work. My vendors, and probably some of yours as well, show it as a line item.
Surcharge.
They're charging. So I mean, do you guys hide it? Do you bury it? Are you transparent? What are you all doing?
I just
We-
add it in. I don't show it, but I add it in,
Yeah.
depending on the mileage, the radius.
You have to.
That's that's what we're doing.
Every item you buy in a store, it's added in.
Yeah.
They're not showing a line item. I don't care if you go to Target or anywhere. It's
Mm.
all added in. That's why prices have just skyrocketed.
Yeah, diesel out here, I just paid $6.35 a gallon for diesel.
Wow.
It'll hit 7 also.
And
It'll probably hit
out by
close.
my house in the valley, it's almost $7 a gallon.
And you're going to have water rationing shortly.
Hmm.
They say water is really bad in California. I
That's
think
so good.
when I was with the president, he said he heard that they were going to limit you to 14 gallons a day. I don't know how they're going to figure it, but that's what the word is from California.
In our area, we've been through that before.
Yeah.
You know, they took out a perfectly good dam because they said it was not earthquake proof. And once they tore it down, they figured it was just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're all on wells around here. Then we have our local Sierra Club. They don't want you pumping the aquafilter, so they made them cut down on that.
So your gas prices are what, around 6?
Yes,
Oh, your diesel, you said, right? What's your regular gas?
it's up about the same. It might be a little bit higher.
Wow.
I just put some gas in earlier today. Let's see, what was the price of gas? It was $5.79.
Wow.
That sounds like Costco.
Yeah, it was the lowest station
Yeah.
around. I just happened to stop there. But it was last time I bought it was over 6.
What's the east coast of the states like, Brian? Or Mike?
We're up around like anywhere between 469 and 489 a gallon.
So you haven't hit
Correct.
5 yet.
Yeah.
We haven't hit 5. We've come close. There's a couple places. I passed a gas station the other day just over the line in New York State, and they were just over 5. I think 503.
And you're
Where are
out
you
of
from, Brian?
I'm from northern New Jersey, Bergen County.
Okay.
So
Okay.
right over the line from New York.
I'm right on the northern side of Maryland. We're sitting
Okay.
right on that 610 on diesel, probably 5 something in gas, which is crazy because we have a terminal right in Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, California is on a summer blend, they call it. So the prices always go up in the summertime.
Plus with the
Summer-
holiday
Your
weekend coming,
consideration right now.
you get a little, they bump it up a little bit for people that are going to travel for Memorial Day and stuff. So, but it's
Yeah.
still high.
Oh, yeah.
So
Fill my van, it cost about $180 to fill it, and that'll last me like the 5 days, the 1 week, almost. Depending on, if I go outside of the city, then that's when I'll start charging per kilometer or something like that. But I try to just keep it all within the city limits.
Mm.
There's enough work for that. But yeah, $180 a week at least.
Mm.
Mm.
That's
So
amazing.
for $100,
That's
I get
amazing.
15 gallons of diesel.
I'm in the same boat.
So and when you look at your P&L, what percentage is your fuel charges compared to your overall expenses?
I've not really broken it down that far.
Yeah.
I spend roughly about 10 to 11,000, maybe $12,000 a year in gas, I guess. Well, maybe not that much actually. I probably spent that, about 10,000.
I'm waiting on my P&L. We're going to look at this quarter and kind of see what the increase was over the last probably 2 years and see, Bill. But typically on my cost basis, we're sitting maybe around 10% of our over costs. I guess it really depends on what you're looking at. As far as your, cost of goods, or you just looking at, operating costs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, under operating costs, because your cost of goods sold is your material. That's a different discussion, but your insurances and your fuel charges, those things add up. But fuel's the one that's going to spike. If it's normally sitting at 3 or 4%, it may jump up to 6 or 7% of your total operating expenses.
Absolutely.
And then depending on what your top line number is, it could be a significant increase.
As of now, we're on track of it going up probably about almost 4 to 5 points from where it originally was.
So back it up 3 years ago, for instance, and see what your fuel cost was then.
Yeah,
And see what the difference. And is your fuel in line with everything else that's going up? And is everything else going up because the fuel is going up? In other words, is your tape going up because whatever, your freight charge is going up because of fuel? Your surcharges for your glass going up because of fuel?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Between buying in bulk or anything along that line. Yeah.
It's a big
all
deal.
that really paying a major factor on overall margins, even just basic margins.
Yeah. So then you got to look, instead of being proactive, like you're saying, you're waiting for maybe your quarter to come out to do your P&L. You have to try and do some projections to see where your pricing is to make sure that you can keep up with it. Other than that, you're funding it for everybody else. You're not passing it along, right?
Oh, we've already done preemptive.
Yeah. Okay. That's
margins increasing. Yes.
good. You have to.
Yeah, we've been tracking it on. I was doing it on a 3-4 month basis, and now it's gotten to a point where I'm looking at it on every, damn near every month. But we're waiting for this quarter, to wrap up to get a good analyzing from this year's, last year's on a quarterly basis to really see where those true increases are coming from.
Mm-hmm. So this comes back full circle to what we talked in this group about a few months ago with Jim Evans and Bid Clips, trying to limit the number of trips out to a house to do estimates. Mike was talking about that a couple of weeks ago. Do you charge for estimates? And if they go with the job, you give them a credit of that towards the sale, or are you still doing free estimates?
We do free estimates 100%. Our closure rates right around 90 to 95 to 97% on each one. We do a lot of vetting ahead of time and a lot of pricing ahead of time. So people like a lot more of that personable aspects. And when you try to charge somebody for an estimate or back charge them, or we have some clients or some other companies in our area that try that, and it gets a very, very bad taste in clients' mouths very quickly. They come running over to my end just because I'll give free estimates.
Yeah. And Chris, we never even took it to that limit when Jim Evans was talking about it, or even a couple other guys that are using it. The ramifications, or like what Matt's talking about, the sales that you don't get, I guess you don't know when you don't get. Well, maybe you do, but you don't know why you don't get them. And maybe it's just the personality. They don't like that. They like the personal touch.
I guess you could do follow-ups and callbacks and
oh yeah,
those. I mean, that helps.
Yeah, you could. Shannon was doing it a different way. Shannon, Matt, do you listen to us if you're not on here?
I do, but I'm an early riser, and you guys get on here at like 8:30. That's about my bedtime.
Yeah.
When I say early riser, my day usually starts about 4. So my body likes a lot of sleep. So I'm usually in bed about this time.
But okay, so Chris posts it, later in the week, so you can watch at your leisure.
I try to keep up. Yes.
A lot of the guys here have different methods, like Billy Britt does. Shannon definitely has a different way of doing things. Their estimator will go out, get all the information. They'll come back and she'll do the pricing for the most part, right, Shannon?
Well, my staff, yeah.
Or you or your staff, but you're overseeing it to make sure it's done to your specs, make sure that the layouts are proper and safe and all of that.
Well, we have a process and all of the engineering guidelines and all of that everyone's trained on to follow. So luckily I've pulled myself out of the process. My office manager does all of that. I've got 4 people in the office and the office manager overseeing them. So that's good. But the pricing method, I think, is really similar. I mean, we do the free bids. I think it comes off, my personal feeling, I think it comes off a little cheap when you're trying to, or trusting, I think you're just going to try and use up my time and I don't trust you. And it just kind of seems to start that relationship off on the wrong foot. It seems like to me, you'll pay for it unless you buy from me and then I'll give it back to you. I don't know. It just to me feels a little cheesy.
Go
ahead, man.
I'll give you another one that will blow your guys' minds. Is I don't require deposits. I don't require deposits. That's also my cheap insurance with the client that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, and we're going to make sure you're happy from the whole start. So in conjunction with the estimates, it makes it, we portray ourselves, and we are a small family company. But it just reinstates that. As far as any kind of issues with that, I really haven't had. I do track them, but very, very, very little turnover or issues with deposits or failed estimates kind of deal. We've kind of gotten it into a pretty good science.
Yeah. I agree completely. For the longest time, we didn't take deposits. The main reason we started taking deposits is so that we could get a serious, hardcore confirmation that the person was ready to order. That was the number one thing, because otherwise we had people going, oh man, I thought you already started that. I thought you had it on. I thought you were going already. Or, oh,
Yes.
wait a minute, I wasn't really ready. I didn't really mean it. So the dollars ended up being a method of them saying, yes, I truly am ready to order. And this is our acknowledgement.
Right.
But my contractors, my long-term contractors, I tell them, once we get a rapport, once we know how each other works, I don't need a deposit from you.
Right.
So I do the same thing with contractors that have been dealt with forever. I don't get deposits, but for first-time customers, yeah, I do get one, because that way they've confirmed they want me to order it and we're good to go.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and the cool thing about all that is it just goes to show you that there's really no right or wrong way, to do it. I mean, it's just like, that's kind of how glazing is anyway, right? And that's why I started learning. I was fortunate because when I started out in the industry, I had some good, journeymen who I worked with, and they were like, look, my way is not the right way, or the only way, it's just the way that I do it, and you'll learn other ways from other guys. And that's a really cool thing about being a part of a forum like this is like get to hear all different approaches, all different takes, all different methods. And, no two shops are going to work exactly the same way. And there's no really one size fits all method for everybody. So, I think a lot of it depends on, the size of your company, how many employees you have, how many salespeople you have, how many estimators you have, how involved you are, uninvolved you are, in your business, and what your community is like, the age of your community, the demographics. Do you have a community where a bunch of people are moving in to your area all the time, or are you in an area where like it's the same people who've lived there for generations? I mean, all those things are going to play a role in how you deal with customers and how you market to them and how you interact. So it's like, I mean, there are people who say, oh, you can't do that. I mean, well, people have been telling, I hear that like just about every day. Oh, Chris, you can't do that. It's like, yeah, I know, I've been doing it that way for 10 years, but yeah, I know I can't,
You hit it on demographics. Absolutely. I mean, and people will tell you, oh, that can't be done. And yeah, it's what we've been doing.
So I have a question for you guys. This is a situation that I'm dealing with currently, and I'm just interested to see how everyone else would handle this situation. It's a new contractor that I'm doing work for, and I have one job that I picked up the glass today. The other job I completed on the 12th, so 2 weeks ago. Reputable guy from what I heard, checked him out a little bit, read some reviews, seemed like a stand-up guy, didn't require a deposit for either order. Put the shower panel in, it was just a spray panel on the 12th, and still haven't gotten paid for that. Got a message from him today, that he's kind of pushing for this second shower to be installed. And I called him back earlier. I didn't get in touch with him. I'm going to try him again in the morning. But, I feel like he also had passed my information along to the homeowner who's waiting on the shower because she's pretty eager to get it done. So, she called and kind of hassled me a little bit today. When's it coming in? This thing's going on 13 weeks. It was supposed to be a 6-week project, blah, 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 which really has nothing to do with me. But how would some of you guys handle that situation?
How long has it been since maybe for the first one?
2 weeks. It was installed on the 12th. So last 2 Thursdays ago. So it'll be 2 weeks 2 weeks tomorrow.
Typically, most contractors are going to expect 30 days minimum. So if you just go by that standard there, you'd have to wait another 2 weeks before you're even going to consider calling them up and saying, hey, I need to be paid. Generally, some of my build, like I've gotten most of the people, if not all the people that I deal with now are 30 days. I had some customers that were 60, sometimes 90 days, and I said, I don't want to do work for you anymore. So everybody that I have is 30 days minimum. Some are sooner, but not very many of them. So just from that standpoint alone, I would say, yeah, you'd have to wait 2 weeks before you can ask for money. Unless there's some sort of other arrangement.
Mhm.
So I was going to ask Brian, the person that you met, somebody called you, right, to give the estimate, and you met with them. What was the expectations, or was that even talked about when you gave a price? Did you give them an estimate, and did it say payment due on order, payment due on completion? What were your terms on the invoice that you sent to them?
50% deposit to process the order, payment due upon completion. In order, and this was my fault. It was negligence on my part, for sure. But I waived the deposit to try and establish a good working relationship with this guy, going forward. Kind of on a good faith type of thing. So I waived the deposit, put the orders in. Knowing that this renovation and remodel, we needed to keep the balls kind of rolling on it. So went ahead and put the orders in on good faith, with the expectation of being paid in full upon completion, which was not verbally discussed afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was an expectation, but really nothing in writing. You didn't call them and say, hey, can I have a check ready? So
it was discussed when the appointment was scheduled to install the panel, that we'd be installing the panel. There was supposed to be a check there. He was supposed to drop a check off that day. Nothing in writing, nothing on a handshake, just kind of a verbal agreement.
So we
send him an email.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, send him an email giving him options. Hey, you want to send the invoice attached on an email and ask for the check or
two
Venmo
emails
or
have been
credit
sent.
card? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
So one of the things I will do, remember you said about like vetting out the clients, right? And we'll vet these people out. One of the things that I'll do with exactly with what you're talking about, like a deposit. So say if I find somebody that I'm not real nervous about, or excuse me, I'm very nervous about this person. Maybe I've heard some bad things and they've had bad issues with, say, a friend of mine. Well, maybe my friend's and he overreacts or whatever else, but I still want to be cautious. There are occasional times where I'll ask for that deposit, right? So I feel like this is a very similar scenario. You'll turn around, you waive that deposit, you're throwing your bone out to him saying, hey, look, this is what I got. Now I'm going to help you out, but I need something in return, right? And this is you kind of building that relationship with him. In my eyes, I make it very, very clear to him. I need that check at the end of that job to say I'm happy. Now, we go move on to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 jobs on top. Different story. But this is part of learning that relationship, right? That at least that's how I would take it. Because you don't want to be that hack, or that bother all the time. Hey, where's my check? Where's my check? No, you make it clear to him. You don't work for just anybody. You work based off a relation. And that relation is what you're trying to build here. He would, I feel like if he's an honest guy, he'll appreciate that and get that money to you. You guys said about the 30 days. I mean, we have commercial contracts. We have regular contractors as far as residential. Commercial side, yes, we see that 30-day all the time. I want to say out of a dozen contractors that we're working for this week, we'll get paid for next week. Yes, we'll term them for a 30-day, but we get paid next week. Why? Because they value that relation, that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you've had a conversation with him already and he said that he was going to pay you and he didn't pay you, then that definitely warrants, that throws out the 30 days. That warrants a phone call and say, I can't start the next job until I get paid for this job.
I agree.
Yeah. So,
but
When's
you're the
that
only one
next
that
one
knows
going
that.
in?
I haven't scheduled it yet. I'm holding off until I talk to him in the morning. Because I really don't want to schedule the install. I picked up the glass today, but I really don't want to schedule the install until I'm compensated for the last one.
Do you do credit card payments? You take credit cards?
I take credit cards. I try not to because of the processing fee. So I don't really push for it. But
Well,
if,
maybe since you're wanting it anyway, I mean, maybe tomorrow's phone call could be, hey, normally I do a 50% deposit. We didn't do it on this first one. So before we do the second one, let's have you pay off the first one. That way it's pretty much the same. It's like 50%. I could do a credit card right now. You got that on you, and just kind of, I'm ready when you are.
Yep. Put it back in his court.
Right down to that expectation.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever done Zelly or
Zelle, you're right.
has everybody ever done that?
Yeah. Venmo.
Yeah.
I do Zelle all the time.
Yeah. Zelle's good.
No
Zelle's
credit card
good.
fees. And,
Venmo's
No
good.
fees.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Venmo
I
has fees, but Zelle doesn't have any fees.
Yeah.
I had a guy redo my shower and it was $10,000, and I did Zelly and he got his money like boom, right away.
What's Zelle? What's Zelle and the other one you said? What is that?
Zelle and
Venmo.
Venmo.
now,
Yeah.
I was under the impression that Zelle was not okay for business accounts.
No, it is.
That's what I was told by my
Hey.
bank.
Well, maybe your bank doesn't use it like ours encourages it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Um,
And I had a
So-
window washer do my windows at my lake house, and I did him with the other one, and he got his money boom right away.
right away.
Is Zelle specific through Chase?
I don't think so, because I have Truist,
No.
which was
Okay.
SunTrust.
Okay.
Is Zelle the same as, I don't know, an e-transfer? Is that what it is? Or
It's
do you
almost
guys
like-
know what that?
It's like an immediate debit, really. It's coming right out of your checking account.
Oh, okay.
My
It's
daughter
never-
uses it all the
ACH.
time.
It's like a debit with no credit card fees.
I've not heard of that here, so I don't know if it's an American thing or I'll have to look into that.
You know, if you have Chase up there, they use it. I mean, all the banks use it.
Yeah.
PNC, Truist, yeah.
I'll look into that.
Yeah.
That's
But
good
whatever
stuff.
method, Brian, if you're concerned, I mean, paying 2%, you seem concerned enough that every time I get that, that little tickle, like this isn't going away, I feel comfortable with. I mean, I kick myself when I don't trust it. I think you should
Yeah.
trust yourself.
Listen to your intuition. That's something that people do not do enough of these days,
Yep.
right? I mean, that's the real deal. That little voice inside is often telling you the truth. And it's like, and I'm really similar to you, Brian, in terms of like, the format of my business, whatever the structure of my business, really small, kind of very hands-on. And I'm the same way. It's like I ask for just the same terms as you are, 50% down and then payment when the job's completed. And I know, like, when I get an invoice from somebody, I look at the terms, on my invoice.
Mhm.
I always do. I want to see when they want to get paid, and so I like what Matthew was saying. I really agree with him, about just have that conversation.
Mhm.
It's like, and it may be the thing that sometimes those hard conversations that you have with a customer or a vendor or whoever, an employee, is the thing that really kind of bonds you guys. It's like it's the opportunity to say, hey, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is kind of what I expect. I want to do business with you. I want to have this relationship with you. This is what I'm going to need. Sometimes I need to tell people, hey, we're just a little mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to, we get, cash flow is really super important. If you can help us with that, it's a big deal, because a lot of times our customers, it's no big deal. Cash flow to some of my customers is the last thing that they're thinking about. So it's just, hey, you can do me a big favor by paying me promptly. Sometimes that's just a good conversation to have.
Like here in California, we got a call from a guy the other day that had 4 showers and a handrail. And so my brother looked up his license, says, well, you've been around here a long time. Who have you been using? And he started naming off everybody who's been using, and he comes to us because he wasn't happy with the other, or I don't know what happened to the other people, but we do that too.
Sometimes I wonder when people call me up and they've been using other companies, and I wonder, why did you switch to me? Like, why are you using me? So I'll make calls, I'll inquire, I'll look them up, and find out that, well, he didn't pay his bills at the other place, so they don't want to use him or give him any glass. So then that guy's now going to just find somebody else to do the work.
I tell the people, we've been around here 50 years, and all of a sudden you're calling me. Why?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, jumped in late. Brian, I was listening to your comments about the money. If I had something to say, it would be get serious about your money. And being new, you always want to be nice and you always want to be helpful. But I think contractors can also smell that out from a mile away. We're very serious about our money. We're not pushy, but we're very serious about our money. So we take deposits from people. We get credit references on builders. If builders are new, they deposit until they get credit references are done. And then there's credit limits applied as well. So, and we don't apologize for it. They're not in the business of giving away houses, and we're not in the business of giving away showers. So I would say, there's a little bit, I'm picking up a little bit of a hesitation to ask for money. Like it's a bad thing to do, like you're the bad guy. But I think Bill also hit it on the head. You got to get this stuff set up on the front end. And the more serious you are about money on the front end, I think you're going to be treated with more respect. They won't look at you as a guy who's desperate for money. You just explain what your terms are. You know what I'm saying? And so on this guy, I don't know the conversation you had with him. Is it real? If I was talking to him, does he really know that he should have paid for this first shower? Or was it such a soft pedaled situation that he doesn't really know because it wasn't clear? So now he thinks you're holding out a second shower on him because you might have cash flow problems. So that was the question. Did he really get the message that he should have paid for it? And if he really did get the message that he should have paid for it and he didn't pay for it, now you have an issue.
Yep.
But I would start treating money a little bit more seriously. And I don't mean that in any way.
It takes a little practice, right?
Yes, it does take a little practice.
It is uncomfortable at first. People don't want to talk about sex. And they don't want to talk.
I don't know how that got in here.
It's just one of those things. It's a very personal, it's a very intimate thing. People's money, is a very intimate thing, and people don't want to talk about it. But it's something you have to talk about, and like you're saying, get it out there first.
That's actually
takes a little practice.
One of the reasons why I correlate that with relationship. Most people can correlate relationships as a very near and dear thing. So does my money. We don't mess with the money, don't mess with the relationship. Everybody can relate to that. And using that as kind of like an ease in tool that, hey, this is the seriousness. That if you want me to be a good contractor with you, this is part of the relationship. This is how we do things. And like everyone else was saying about the clear expectations are huge. In building a good relationship.
Man, you got a good voice. These headsets on, you should be on radio.
A face for radio, is that what it's called? A face for radio.
Got a hell of a voice.
He does have a nice voice.
Yeah, but my guess is, Brian, you kind of waved it and kind of hoped he would see that as a generous gesture. And it doesn't sound like he's seeing it that way. So, I mean, it would have been perfectly fine to say, hey, we're going to waive the deposit, which we normally do when we haven't run credit. But instead of a deposit and then the 100%, the 50% on final, we are going to get 100% on final. Does that work for you? And you get him to understand and agree to those terms on the front end. It's hard.
Brian, don't get embarrassed.
Until somebody stiffs you.
We all went through this.
Sure.
So don't get embarrassed by this.
And I've gone through it before with other guys, and I've had the uncomfortable conversation and kind of laid it out there on the table. And since then, it's been fine. Just
They respect you.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I guess, I guess this guy's not there yet. He'll get there tomorrow morning, but
Right. And a lot of this is most of this is your fault. You know what I'm saying? Because I've
Oh,
done the
for
same
sure.
thing. So
oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Oh,
So it's not-
I'm owning it 100%. I know it's had I
Good
handled
for
it
you,
different,
man. That's right.
Don't hold back on it,
had
right?
Woody gone to the cops, we wouldn't be in this situation, right?
Look at what Billy chimed in on the chat. Says he had a conversation today in his office about being fearless and discussing payment. When your value is high, there shouldn't be any issue for the customer.
Yep.
Yeah.
No hesitation. No, just very straightforward. We did the work. Blah blah blah. When can we expect payment? Or
And Brian-
and the credit
Brian,
card
they need-
charges. We'll take
Sorry,
the
go
credit
ahead.
card charges all day long to get payment. All day long.
Yeah, it's a cost of doing cost of doing
Correct.
business. You need to
Cost
figure
of doing
that
business.
in. You know,
Make it
figure
easy.
that into your overhead.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Make it
3%
easy.
more.
Get your money.
And in some
your money.
states, you can charge for it.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's
Everybody
true.
I had a
pays for it.
contractor- I had a contractor that I did a job for, and I never met the guy. And he said he was going to meet me on site while I'm installing and pay me. And of course, he didn't show up. And then he has this excuse or whatever. So I call him the next day and same thing. I'm going to come down to your office. I'm going to pay you. It doesn't show. This went on for about a week. Every day he would say he's going to come, and then he doesn't come. And then finally, and I told him, I started calling him on his BS. And then finally he just stopped responding to me. And I got obsessive with it. Like I was like, Greg, I mean, I'm serious about my money. I did a job for you and I'm getting paid. So I started Facebooking him. I was Googling him. I found out he was ripping people off everywhere.
Wow.
He was owed, the stucco company, he was out $20,000. The plumber was out $15,000. He did a job for a lady. She was out $90,000. So I started going around. I went to this guy's ex-wife house. I talked to her. I called, I found out what church he went to. I called the priest or the pastor.
Oh my.
I called some long lost uncle.
Stalker
Surprised
alert.
you didn't get
Stalker
arrested.
alert.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say.
was
surprised-
obsessive. And I did this for a month. Every day I was making a phone call or calling him or something like that. In a month, he finally texted me and says, your money's coming. He sent me an e-transfer that night. Done. So
I've never gotten to
sometimes-
that level. Never.
No,
well, I don't know what it was. I think it was because he knew what he was doing. He knew that he wanted the shower door done because the house was done and he wasn't going to pay me. I think that's what it was. I became obsessive about it. And sometimes I would let it go. It was only $550, but yeah, he knew what he was doing. He knew he wasn't going to pay me. So that
took
just
it
became a
personal.
little.
My guess is
Yeah, it did. It took me personal.
my guess is Bill has very standardized credit policies. If I ask you to state your credit policies, Bill, for homeowners, what is it?
50% deposit, 50%, I mean, the rest on completion.
On completion, yeah. And then you have some builders you extend credit to?
Only a few. Most of them we create deposit invoices for. Yeah. And then on the manufacturing side, new customers are COD for the first 3 orders, and then we slowly start giving credit. Once they miss their credit, then they go back to COD.
There you go. Words of wisdom. Words
What?
of wisdom.
So,
We're a glass shop, not a bank.
so back in the 70s when my parents ran the business, we belonged to a credit bureau, and they would go around to all the major suppliers and go through their books and see who's 30, 60 day, all the way up of every contractor, whatever. And then they send the list out. So my dad would get that list and these guys would call and he wouldn't do work for him because they were, 120, days out on payment.
Wow.
Tim, that's rather comical. My very similar. My father actually there was a networking kind of like how we're doing this here, right? Back in the 70s, of all the contractors in the area, and by damn, if you were a contractor that was working, you were in this network if you were local, and they would basically put it as everybody stops work. If you didn't pay the glass guy, the steel guy would stop working. If you didn't pay the wood guy, guess what? The shingle guy would stop working, and everybody. I mean, it was a very close network. It's very wild
That's what it was here. You know, if there were 130, 100 days out, we wouldn't touch them.
Well, that's next level stuff, but we're a member of the local Home Builders Association and NARI. Yeah, and I've gotten to know tons of other subcontractors, and when we're looking at a new general contractor, I'll call around and I'll email people, hey, do you know these guys? How are they? You know, how's their payment? Are they, you know, good? They know how to keep a schedule, all of those things that I want to know. And we all share information with each other. And, you know, you screw up, you may not be able to go to, you know, another glass guy, another HVAC guy, because we all know each other and you know,
Yeah.
in a way.
It spreads around.
Yeah.
Small
Absolutely.
community.
In fact, my father actually started he was one of the first presidents of our Maryland Glass Association, and that was one of his primary reasonings, was because there were a lot of contractors out there that were screwing everybody around. And from that point, he realized what a valuable tool it was for all the glass companies to be able to communicate, talk about different issues in that regards. And that's basically why him and a bunch of the old timers, lack of a better word, founded it.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Hey, Chris, we ought to ask Mike. He said he was out installing. He had a bunch of questions. Before our time runs out, we should be able to help him with one or two, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. You've been awfully quiet there, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I'm just listening, writing down gems of wisdom. You know, we did pivots today. We did glass to glass hinges today. We did U channel, and I'm not out installing every day. My role is more, you know, I'm selling. I'm just managing the business. But I look at pictures of these shower, you know, on the Shower Door Professionals website every day, and a lot of guys are using clamps, and I found it. I just start thinking about all these conversations and you know, gems of wisdom I borrowed off of all you guys, how much longer it takes to do U channel. We have done U channel consistently for, well, this is my 18th year in business, but there's a lot of cutting. You know, we had benches today, returns, et cetera, you know, and I had a relatively new guy with that's been with me, and he's like, well, hey, my old company, we did clamps. So I just, you know, we did two, let's see, you know, notch panel, door, inline return with a header, used U channel, took quite a bit of time. Glass hinges. We did a, you know, a door notched in, big notched inline and a return header with just took a lot of time. We got both of them done in about, I don't know, about 5.5 hours. But anyhow, I guess more of questions. It's just thoughts, things that I'm picking up from you guys, like, you know, do you use U channel? What's faster? What's they came out good. Customers happy. I liked them. I guess those are statements more than questions. It's just trying to gain efficiencies through the whole process, the install process. So,
Bill,
I think
do you have SOPs on that kind of stuff, on how to install physically? I'm assuming with training centers and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Actually, Chris and I and a few other guys are on the NGA's board, and we're writing an installation guide right now. And Mike, we've already gone through the clamps, and we're on U channel right now. So we're writing it for actually both. But a lot of it depends on how good your fabricator is. If you're doing clamps, you've got to make sure your measuring guy is really accurate, because you've got very little margin for error. And how good your fabricator is following, you know, what's the tolerance and what do you allow for a tolerance between your panel and your door? you know, when
Great.
you're using U channel, you've got some play there.
Yeah.
When you
And
got
that's
clamps,
what
you got nothing.
I've always leaned towards U channel because of the forgiveness factor. You know,
Yeah.
in today's installs, we had a little, you know, a wall that went in like a little C. Had I used clamps, your caulk joint, yeah, Chris, we caulk, your caulk joint would have been stronger. It would have been stronger, and the U channel hit all that. I mean, it was, you know, it was not an issue. That's why I've always leaned towards the U channels. But what's the word? I say speed, you know, speed of install. Sometimes speed. I'm willing to overlook speed versus maybe that is some of the forgiveness qualities that U channel gives you in the whole process.
And
So,
don't forget, Mike, there's a couple other things there. You say clamps, they're not necessarily quicker. It's not necessarily quicker.
Way more
Uh,
silicone.
A lot more silicone, if you silicone, a lot more
Yeah.
silicone. Always got to keep Chris in mind here.
yeah.
That's right.
But the accuracy, when it's not right, you have to go back. You just blew all your time that you think you saved. Callbacks, I would see a lot more callbacks on clamps than I would on a channel jobs.
Yeah.
And it's because of the caulking over time, not immediately, but over time, the discoloration of it, and they don't like it. You know, it
Yeah.
looks good for the first year, year and a half, but 2 years starts looking ratty. But when you got it in channel, you don't see it. It's all buried underneath because we don't run exposed beads. Ours is hidden underneath in a caulking trough. So that saved us a ton of callbacks.
Mhm. Yeah.
But now aluminum extrusions are very expensive, very expensive. So
Yeah, but-
you might want to
but
look
Bill-
at clamps.
But Bill, I mean, at the same time, if you go with clamps, you have fabrication in the notches that offset the cost of the aluminum. I mean, to me,
Absolutely.
you know, to me, there's, I guess I keep leaning towards the U channel for for the forgiveness, lack of fabrication in the glass that's required. And that's just kind of how we've done it for the last, 18 years.
So I look at 3 areas too. What type of door are you doing? Are you doing a removal or you're going into something that's newly constructed? Because we do a
Right.
lot of removals. And
Yeah.
you really don't want to put clamps over, you can, don't get me wrong,
No, I
but you're going to
agree.
try and follow the path and cover up their staining.
Right.
So you channel over that same glass path is the perfect way to go. So that's one. Second is your threshold and your bench, is it individual tiles or did they use a nice straight surface for a slab? Because if it's individual tiles, then you have a very irregular caulk line going up, and quite honestly, it looks bad.
One
you're
tile
trying to
can
run a
screw
nice
you
beam.
over.
Without a
One tile
doubt.
can screw you over.
Without a doubt. So those are the factors I look at. And I'm not disputing clamps. I think they're a great thing. But I think they're right in the right application. I wouldn't say I'm only clamps or I'm only channel. We probably do 65% channel and 35% clamps.
Interesting.
I try to lean my clients towards channel. I don't sales pitch it. I just say, look, they asked me what I want in my house. I want channel. Why? It's easier to install. For us, it's a little faster. Clips, you're going to have maintenance issues. Being honest with them, 90, I wouldn't say 90, but we'll say 70% of the time, they'll go with channel just because they want the longevity, at least for our area. Now we do have homes and areas of $9-10 million home neighborhoods, that kind of thing. Totally different demographic, totally different scenario, but we try to sell them on it every time.
One of the things you run into, and we ran into this in the guide, I think Shannon, you were part of that as well, is a lot of guys that only do clamps will try and bash you and say, well, you're not really selling frameless doors. You're saying semi-frameless doors. And it's ridiculous. Yes.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
And we had to put the guidelines out right in the very first paragraphs, what a frameless door is, and set that definition down. But some guys are using it as a sales bash. That's not a frameless door.
Right.
So we get over that pretty quick.
That's right. Set them straight. Set
Set
them
them straight.
That's right. Well, good talk, everybody. That was
Yeah.
very informative.
Wow. That was
Time
fast.
flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Well, thanks so much again for joining us. Thanks for just showing up all the time and all your support. I sure do appreciate it. What a great group we've got. So see you again next Wednesday.
Good job,
Thanks,
Chris.
guys.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Hope you get your money, Brian.
Okay, so Bill, have you come off cloud nine yet?
Thanks,
We're
Bill.
gonna check on you.